Dear Taurus, there's a comfort you've been clinging to for far too long, but it has quietly become an invisible cage. It's not a dramatic crisis you can point to. Rather, it's a silent struggle against change, a subtle resistance you've mistaken for strength. You've convinced yourself that stability is safety, that as long as nothing is disrupted, you are protected. But now, the time has come. The truth you've stubbornly avoided is emerging, and while it feels unsettling, it is also your pathway to liberation. Because, dear Taurus, you were never meant to be a prisoner of your own comfort zone, shackled by the fear of loss, or by that relentless stability that often masks your deepest insecurities. You possess a steadfastness that is rare, a loyalty that commands respect. Yet it has also led you to build fortresses where gardens should grow. Those fortresses are beginning to show cracks, allowing the truth to seep in, a truth that promises to transform everything. So, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. I, Taurus, choose to release the familiar in order to embrace my true growth. Stay with me until the end, for the final revelations are the most profound. This is where everything will finally click into place. If you leave early, you risk missing the most enlightening insights you've ever encountered. Let's rewind a bit, because this journey didn't just start yesterday. This isn't merely a fleeting moment of discomfort. It roots back to a deep-seated fear of instability you've upheld without even realizing it. It stems from that constant drive to keep things the same, to show your reliability, to convince yourself that you don't need to risk what you already have, but who instilled in you the belief that change is a threat. When did you begin to associate the unknown with failure? From an early age, Taurus, you learned that safety was paramount. Your worth was measured by your ability to maintain the status quo, not by your courage to explore, by your capacity to hold on, not by your willingness to let go. That's where it all began. The inner voice that compels you to stay put, even when it feels stagnant. The voice that urges you to swallow your desire for more, to preserve a false sense of peace. The voice that insists that risk is not how you build a secure life. But what if I told you that everything you're afraid to face is actually your greatest opportunity? This truth that is surfacing is not a danger. It's an invitation to truly live. A crack, once opened, releases all the pressure, all the stagnation you've bottled up, everything you've yearned for, but held back out of fear. Do you ever feel stuck, Taurus? Like no one truly understands the fear behind your silence. As if everyone assumes you're content while inside, you're silently pleading for a sign, for permission to want something new, for a simple acknowledgement of your inner restlessness. That's the part most people overlook. They see your reliability, your patience, your unshakable calm, but they fail to see the sleepless nights where you wonder if this is all there is. They don't notice the emptiness that sometimes lurks behind your comfortable routine. They don't see how painful it is to be a rock for others while feeling like you're slowly turning to stone yourself. A profound truth is stirring within you. Taurus, though it may be cloaked in discomfort, it is destined to shine like a beacon of liberation. For the first time, you'll realize that you don't have to cling to what's no longer working. Your worth is not defined by what you possess, but by your very existence. You don't need to be unchangeable all the time. Allowing yourself to be flexible is also part of the journey. Perhaps there's a person, a situation, or an opportunity that has resurfaced recently, something that forces you out of your comfort zone, and you've resisted. This isn't mere coincidence. It's your soul reaching out. It's the universe urging you to confront your fear of change, because that's the only way to find true security. Not by ignoring it, not by sidestepping it, not by denying it, but by looking it directly in the eye and saying, "Yes, this scares me, but it doesn't define me." And this is where genuine transformation begins. When you stop resisting what feels uncomfortable, a portal opens, a profound shift that no longer relies on external stability or routine. It seeks only growth, pure, raw, beautiful growth. Perhaps you didn't realize it, Taurus, but there's a part of you that has been yearning to blossom. A voice that isn't about practicality or safety, but one that whispers in your moments of solitude, when you silence the noise, when you tire of the same old patterns that fail to fulfill you. What would happen if, for once, you allowed that voice to guide you? If instead of suppressing the desire for change, you embraced it? Taurus, you have the capacity to do this, not because you're invincible, but because you're authentic. True strength lies in that authenticity, in showing up fully, even when you don't feel ready. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not when things feel more certain. No, because life doesn't wait, and neither does your soul. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Taurus, allow the truth to liberate me, even if it feels uncomfortable. Because yes, Taurus, this moment is significant. It's not just a phase. It's a pivotal emotional breakthrough that reveals what you can no longer hold on to. It's intense. I understand. Because you're not one to give up. Everything within you cries out, hold on, keep things stable, don't show uncertainty. But how often have you betrayed yourself just to maintain that facade of contentment? How many times have you buried your dreams under a mountain of practical excuses? Something is shifting at the core. Something is urging you to release that unyielding persona you crafted to survive. Because now, Taurus, it's about truly living, not merely existing. And living means feeling, embracing uncertainty, dreaming the dreams you've deferred, speaking the desires you've held back. There's an emotional memory that resurfaces every time you return to that place where staying silent and still felt necessary to avoid losing something. Perhaps it was a loss, an upheaval, a moment of instability in your past. Although you've carried on as if nothing happened, that experience shaped how you relate to security, how you protect yourself, and how you learn to trust. But now you know that what you don't heal, you will inevitably repeat, and you're no longer willing to repeat cycles of stagnation. Have you noticed how every time a major change is required, a part of you goes on high alert? How that need for control, that desire to plan everything, often conceals a deep-rooted fear of the ground shifting beneath your feet again, Taurus. This is your opportunity to transform all of that, not from a place of rejection or anger, but from love. Love for yourself, from a gentleness you owe yourself, from a forgiveness that doesn't erase the past, but liberates you from what has kept you bound. There's a specific fear that's opening now. It may have a name, or perhaps it does not, but you'll recognize it because every time you touch it, a knot forms in your stomach, a wave of resistance, dread, and loneliness that is precisely what is ready to be released. You are not alone in this. Even if you've often felt that, even if you've learned to manage everything to maintain peace, this time you don't have to go through it all alone, because this process isn't about proving your endurance. It's about recognizing that you don't have to carry the weight of a life that no longer fits. Have you ever questioned why it's so challenging to trust the unknown? Why is it easier to give stability than to receive change? Why do you set such high standards for security for yourself while extending so little freedom? It's time to break that pattern, to start seeing yourself through the same compassionate eyes you would use to view someone you deeply care about, with understanding, patience, and kindness. Because if you don't offer that to yourself first, no one else will be able to provide it in a meaningful way. Taurus, you're undergoing a symbolic transformation, and while that may sound daunting, it's precisely what you need. For only when something old dies can what's emerging within you now is a more authentic version of yourself, one that is lighter, truer, and more vibrant. You are bidding farewell to an old self, one that learned to protect with rigidity, silence, and hyper-independence. But that version, which once served you, is now holding you back. You are no longer the child who had to be still to avoid chaos. You are no longer the teenager who grew up too quickly. Today, you are an adult with power, with a voice, and with the right to choose differently. Choosing differently starts with allowing yourself to feel without censorship, without judgment, and without guilt. Every dream you didn't chase, every yes to stagnation you swallowed, every no to adventure you held back is surfacing now, ready to be released. You cannot build something new on unprocessed fear, and you, Taurus, are ready for a fresh foundation. But first, you must, perhaps right now, it feels as though something is breaking, be it a relationship, a habit, or a belief you once clung to. Don't resist it. Don't cover it up. Let it break if it no longer supports your truth. Let it fall if it weighs more than it's worth. Allow yourself to feel the fear, but also allow it to heal, because fear, when faced with awareness, transforms into wisdom, self-love, and freedom. You're not losing anything. You're gaining a new version of yourself, one that is more real, more liberated, and more aligned with your true essence. Yes, there will be sadness accompanying this transformation, a nostalgia for the person you used to be, for the safety you endured, for all the adventures left unlived. Allow yourself to feel that sadness. It's part of the farewell ritual. It's your soul honoring what was, making space for what is to come. And what's on the horizon, Taurus, is monumental. There's a silence you've been carrying for years, a silence that may have gone unnoticed by others, but echoes loudly within you every night. That silence manifests as questions you dare not voice. Why am I so afraid? Why did I have to learn to be so self-reliant so early? Why must I always hold everything together, even when I'm crumbling with the desire for something different? The truth is, Taurus, that stability you exhibit wasn't always a choice. It was a necessity. It was your only means of survival in a world that offered little room for your feelings. So, you became a rock, a fortress, someone who never falters. But now, you're weary, not of life, not of your aspirations, but of the struggle to stay the same, tired of feeling unseen, tired of no one truly acknowledging what lies within you. Because yes, Taurus, you deserve to be supported without having to ask for it. You deserve someone to look at you and say, "I understand your fear." You don't need to explain you. Sometimes you may wonder if you'll ever fully trust the flow of life again, if you'll find someone who doesn't shy away from your need for security, someone who realizes that your slowness isn't a lack of passion, that your resistance often stems from fear, and therein lies the heart of the matter. What wounds you most isn't just the events that transpired, it's what has remained unspoken. It's that belief that wanting more makes you ungrateful, that feeling restless renders you unstable. But the truth, Taurus, is that your capacity for deep feeling is your most beautiful trait. You've learned to conceal it, like hiding a treasure from potential thieves. Do you recognize how much you shield yourself, how you meticulously weigh every risk before taking a step, how you prioritize logic over desire as if your feelings are a threat? Yet, you're already breaking silently inside. Taurus, don't chastise yourself for being strong for so long. It was your survival mechanism. But now, you're no longer at war. There's no need to keep battling everything around you. This is your time to surrender, not to defeat, but to truth. There's immense freedom on the other side of fear, but to reach it, you must confront it with open eyes and an exposed heart. No masks, no excuses, no guilt. Do you know why it's so difficult to relinquish control? Because in your youth, you learned that if you didn't govern everything, it would all unravel. You discovered that you had to shoulder the responsibility, that you couldn't rely on anyone else. And that turned you into an emotional fortress. Admirable, yes, but utterly exhausting. Now, that fortress is beginning to crack. And that's not the end. It's the beginning. Because through those cracks, light begins to filter in. A new kind of light, warm and gentle. A light that whispers, "You don't have to be perfect. You simply need to be yourself." Perhaps recently, you've felt a sadness that lacks explanation, an odd melancholy. That's your soul speaking, urging you that it's time to stop pretending that everything is okay, time to allow yourself to be human. Being human doesn't equate to failure. It means living fully. Yes, it will hurt, but it will hurt differently this time. Because this time, you won't bury it. You will confront it. You will allow the fear to express itself, to share its story, to finally voice what others have long ignored. And when that happens, something will break forever, but not you. What will shatter is the chain that has kept you confined, the lie that made you believe your value is contingent upon your stability, that wanting more is greedy, that revealing your fragility is a sign of failure. Look at all you've accomplished while bearing so much. Now envision what you could create with true power. Taurus lies not in resistance, but in embracing your feelings, in choosing to trust again, in opening your heart, even when it's painful, even when you're scared, even when the future seems uncertain, because on the other side of fear lies everything you've been seeking. Taurus, this is the moment when clarity begins to unfold with a force that cannot be contained. After enduring so much inner turmoil, after hiding your true desires for so long, comes a revelation not as a distant thought, but as a truth that ignites, that shakes you to your core, that transforms you. And yes, this truth has many layers. It's not just one single incident that has hurt you. It's an entire framework of belief stories you've told yourself merely to survive. If I don't control it, no one will. I can't trust the unknown. I must always be the state. How many times have you repeated these phrases in silence? Taurus, how often have you convinced yourself that you didn't need change when deep down you were nearing your breaking point? Now, you feel that pressure, one you can no longer ignore, because your body speaks, your soul cries out, and the truth you've been dodging is now demanding to be acknowledged, not to destroy you, but to finally allow you to breathe. Taurus, you've become accustomed to self-reliance, like it's a protective shield, but that shield also keeps new life at bay. When you set the bar so high for yourself, you subconsciously do the same for others, leaving you isolated. It cultivates the belief that no one is ever reliable enough, that no one can truly grasp the depth of your need for security. But who taught you that you had to be flawless to receive love? That's the cruelest deception of all. And today, Taurus, you are dismantling it. You're realizing that your humanity is not a flaw, that your fear doesn't diminish your worth, that you can falter, cry, doubt, and still deserve the best, because worthiness isn't earned through accomplishments. It's remembered through awareness. Take a moment to reflect on everything you've built, everything you've maintained, how much of it stemmed from genuine desire and how much came from fear. Fear of failing, fear of judgment, fear of inadequacy. Now you understand that fear can no longer be your guide. You cannot continue to live your life avoiding the possibility of falling, because that's not really living. It's merely surviving. And you, Taurus, are destined for so much more. You're here to create, to build, to love without trepidation, to trust that vulnerability will not lead to your destruction. There's a new energy entering your life. You may feel it as discomfort, a peculiar restlessness, but it's actually your soul stretching beyond the confines of the old. You no longer fit in spaces that require you to shrink just to belong. Yes, Taurus, you will need to release certain things, people, habits, versions of yourself, and it will be painful, but not because you're losing. It's because you're evolving, and evolving, even when it's difficult, is the highest form of self-love. Do not misconstrue this as a crisis. It's a revelation. It's your soul proclaiming, "Enough of clinging to what no longer serves me." Look around. There are wounds you've carried for so long, yet you've never articulated them. Perhaps it's a lack of recognition, someone who never truly valued you, or perhaps it's you neglecting your own needs. You can no longer mask those feelings, because as long as you do, nothing new will flourish. Life is opening a door for you, Taurus, but you cannot step through it while burdened by all that weight. You must choose. Do you wish to remain in control, or will you become someone who fully experiences their emotions? Because when you allow yourself to feel truly, everything begins to shift. You become magnetic, you become free, you become real, and authenticity, Taurus, is what heals the most. There's no need to prove anything anymore. All you need to do is exist. Yes, you will feel fear. Yes, you will hesitate. But fear is not your enemy. It's a doorway, and on the other side lies peace, ease, love that doesn't hurt, a life that doesn't drain you, a future that doesn't replay the past. Are you ready to walk through that door? Because if you are, a whole new narrative awaits, one where you are no longer the perpetual sacrificer, but the one who chooses, who protects, who embraces their true self. And that, dear Taurus, is freedom. This is it, the most significant moment of all. We're no longer discussing open wounds, hidden pain, or burdensome masks. We're talking about what remains when all of that dissipates, the truth that rises when there's nothing left to cling to. And that truth is powerful because, yes, Taurus, you've spent your entire life believing your worth hinged on stability, that the more you controlled, the more deserving you were, that if you didn't show weakness, you wouldn't be abandoned. But today, after all you've endured, after reaching emotional rock bottom in silence, after confronting yourself with brutal honesty, you finally comprehend you don't need to carry more than what is genuinely yours. You don't have to be invulnerable to earn respect. You don't have to conceal your emotions to be loved. You now know that you are enough, not because of what you do, not because of your achievements, not because of how much you endure. You are enough simply because you exist, because you feel, because you are alive, and that is the ultimate freedom. Something has profoundly shifted within you, and it's not something visible on the outside. It's not about a new job, a new relationship, or a fresh chapter in your external life. It's an inner revolution, a transformation that may not be apparent, but it alters everything, because now you are someone new, someone who no longer betrays their own needs, who no longer places themselves last, someone who no longer silences their truth to spare others discomfort. Taurus, for the first time in a long time, you are choosing yourself, and this is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of healing. When you choose yourself, the entire landscape shifts. A new cycle begins. People enter your life who resonate with your new frequency. Situations unfold with ease. Answers that were once elusive suddenly become clear because you are no longer operating from a place of hurt. You are creating from love, love for yourself. Reflect for a moment on the version of you that suffered the most, that child, that teenager, that young adult who felt isolated, who was overly critical of themselves, who carried burdens that were never theirs to bear. Embrace that version of yourself. Tell them it's okay now. You are here to protect them. You no longer need to repeat the same old narrative. This is your closure, not an ending, but the closing of an old chapter. Everything you've experienced has served a purpose. Even the pain, even the injustices that still linger, all of it was pressure that forged you like a diamond. But now, you no longer need to keep enduring. You can choose the light, the calm, the kind of love that doesn't hurt, the connection that doesn't demand, the silence that doesn't weigh you down. This is your new life, Taurus. It may not be perfect, but it is real, it is honest, and it is yours. From this place, everything ahead will resonate differently, vibrate higher, flow more effortlessly, because you will receive it from a more whole, wise, and liberated version of yourself. You will learn to say no without guilt, to say yes without fear, to stop fighting for things that do not embrace you, to stop pleading for spaces that no longer welcome you. You will look in the mirror and finally see yourself through clear, compassionate eyes. You will recognize that you are not your mistakes, not your scars, not your possessions. You are so much more than that. You are the one who persevered, who held everything together, who broke and rose again, who dared to feel when it would have been simpler to shut down. And now, you are the one who chooses. You are the one who sits in silence and asks, "What do I truly desire now?" Because what matters most isn't what you will achieve after this. It's what you have already accomplished. You have become real. And from that place, Taurus, everything begins to flourish. Are you ready to blossom without fear? Share in the comments what painful truth you are finally prepared to release. Subscribe to The Inner Secrets, and let's embark on this transformative journey together.